Okay, so once you have all of your swatches painted, you've completed the 3 pages. The first page, as I mentioned, should be kind of the light grays. Try to group them together if you can. Second page is the medium grays, and the third is the dark grays. So I put them all together on one just because this is a demo and we're trying to do it relatively quickly. So, and this is what it would look like. So you've got your, as you can see, let me cut over to this. You can see I started with the white up at the top. I've got black at the bottom. And as I mentioned while we were doing the painting part, you can kind of see, the pencil lines, through the light grays here. Not a big problem. Like, don't worry about it. Once you mount them to the back of the Bristol, it'll be fine. And the grays and the dark, or pardon me, the medium and the dark grays should be no problem at all. So once you have them all painted like this, and they're all dry, like don't do this, don't cut the swatches out until the paint is thoroughly dry. That usually takes about an hour, depends on weather conditions, but we're in the early part of fall. It's still pretty warm and dry outside, so they'll probably dry pretty quickly. So what you want to do is you want to cut them out first into strips and then into individual swatches. And that's why you leave the gap, okay, between each of the swatches. So you can see this line here, like the line along here that's in between them. Let me get a little closer. That's in between them. This is what you're going to line your ruler up against so that you cut a perfectly straight cut with your knife against the ruler. So when you arrange the swatches, they're finally all like perfectly straight, like you're not trying to cut them with the scissors. So this is how you do it. So you just, put it down, make sure you have a cutting surface like this, because if you do this on your, on your table or your, parents' kitchen table, with this knife here, you're going to, cut the hell out of everything. So let me switch over to the overhead view. So you want to make sure you have your Olfa knife, okay? Make sure the blade is sharp. How to push the blade out is, you turn this, see this little wheel here, turn this wheel, makes a nice little noise, and you just push the blade out like that. Again, this over the shoulder thing works better. So again, when the knife is not being used, you want to slide that blade back for safety. You tighten this thing down, little wheel, okay, and it's safe, all right? To open it up, you unscrew it that way, push the blade out, not too far, like that, and tighten it back up again, okay? And then just use your metal ruler. Don't use a wooden one or a plastic one because the knife will carve it up. And let me go back to here. And you're just basically going to, as you can see what I'm doing, I'm lining up the ruler with the line, okay, with the drawn pencil line on each of these rows. And then I just cut across like that, okay? And go down to the next row and do the same thing. Like that. Next row, same thing. Until you have all the rows cut out. Right. Now, yeah, and you can see, I'm just going to show you really quick, that it isn't totally perfect, and I really don't care. You can see that, like, up here, I didn't really get it, like, you can still see the pencil line here. So, like, I cut it just at a slight angle. It doesn't matter. As long as the line is straight, you can manipulate the position of the swatch when you finally mount them. So don't stress about it having to be, like, 100% perfect. The ruler does the magic for you, right? So here we go, another one. Remember, just from a safety standpoint, keep the ruler flat, spread your fingers out as far as you can, try to kind of put them in the middle. Don't put them too close to the edge. I don't want anybody getting hurt doing this. Cut all this way and all the way across this way. And then and of course, I'm just doing one page. You have to do 3, but you can see this doesn't take that long. And then you need to cut each of the swatches out individually. Now, if you want to use the knife to do that, you can. That's fine. I don't really care how you do it. Some students are like, I just don't want to deal with it. I'd rather use scissors, or it's safer, or something like that. If you want to use the knife, you would just cut right down the middle. They don't need to be straight. I'm not using the ruler. I'm just cutting them in the space in between each gray. like that, okay? And don't worry, I'm not going to do this for all of them. I have a pre-cut bag, so it's like a cooking show. Anyway, and that's how you do it. Or if you want to do it with scissors, I've got a pair of scissors here. That's fine too. Just cut them like this. Honestly, I think the scissors way is faster. But it's not that much faster. It's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So there you have all your swatches, okay? Now, to avoid boring you and cutting swatches out, as I like to joke that these demos are like a cooking show where like I spare you the part that's boring and repetitive so you don't have to watch the whole thing. So I already have a bag, of pre-cut swatches, okay? And this is what you do. This is the important part. So I'll just dump these out, okay? And pretend that these are all 100, of your swatches, okay? And I'm just going to do a few here like this and get started on them just so you can see what the technique is. Let me switch to the more detail camera shot. So what you want to do is kind of arrange them, like, put the mediums and the darks together just to speed the process up. And then what you're going to do is compare them to one another and arrange them from light to dark, okay? So here are a bunch of light ones, down here. These are kind of light. These are kind of medium here. These are all dark, okay? And I'm going to use an extreme example so you can see it clearly, because honestly, this is a difficult enough assignment, to do in person. All right. It's really hard to do it with your own eyes. And even though I've got really great light in these cool GoPro cameras, you can't really see the differences if they're really, really subtle. This is the most important part of the grayscale assignment, is all of you learning by training your eyes through this repetitive action to make judgments about light versus dark and what's a lighter gray and what's a darker gray. And because you've made so many swatches, like upwards of 100, it is really difficult. There will be swatches that they look exactly the same. So the lighting is really important. And I'm lucky because, again, I'm using these like professional lights and I can see things really clearly. So when you're doing this, please try to have, like the best light that you possibly can in your room. I know that's difficult to find a place to do. Honestly, sitting outside, if you are able to sit and do this outdoors in the shade, that's really great light. If you're doing it indoors, the brighter the light, the better. I don't care if it's warm or cool, halogen or LED, but the brighter the light, the better. And I know it's really difficult to do. But what you're going to do is just arrange them. And so basically, I'm going to make it really simple and just take like a light and a medium and a dark. So what I want you to do is, again, you're going to start with the light swatches like this, okay? And you put them, I would recommend that you put them with the, here. Oh, I'm sorry. So you have the edge where the paint is, have that to your left, okay? And lay that down. And then find one, what's next? Well, this one obviously is darker, and you want to lay it on top. You cannot judge these accurately by having them all separate like that. It won't work. You have to lay them on top of one another like this, and then this. So it's very clear, when you're looking at these, that there's light and medium, or light, medium, and a dark right here. And that's just 3. And it's really, really obvious that that's the light and that's the medium and that's the dark. So it becomes harder when you're actually, like laying them one on top of each other and making those decisions. So what I'm going to do, like a cooking show, just put this on pause right now, and I'm going to arrange all of the swatches that I have cut. Now, I've only cut out about, 30, and you're going to be cutting out more than 3 times that many. So obviously the process is going to be longer and a little more complicated for all of you. But so I'm going to show you how I did it, but that's basically it. You want to go with the lighter ones. Like, what's the lightest one here? I'm looking and going, this one looks like this would be. And this would probably be the next lightest. And again, like you're looking at this on the screen and they probably look like they're the same. And they are really, really close. But the second one's a little bit darker. This one you can see is clearly darker, and just keep going. All right. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to sort all of mine with the camera off, so it's all done when I come back. And then you'll see what I'm talking about and what our next steps are when you're getting ready to, sort everything and edit everything, and before you actually attach them to the final window that's made out of Bristol board also. And I'm going to show you how to cut that window. So I will be right back. Okay, we're back, and I've taken all the swatches that I cut up and slowly, painstakingly arranged them from white to black. And again, I've only got 40 swatches or 40 something swatches, just that I did for the demo. All of you obviously are going to have 100, hopefully a little more than 100 to be working with, so it'll take a little longer, but this is basically what it looks like. So I've basically arranged everything from light to dark. The very first swatch is white. That's white right out of the bottle, right out of the Liquitex bottle. And the last one, even though it's hard to tell because of the lighting, but this last one is black, which again is black out of the bottle. And I've arranged them all the way from, these are all kind of the light swatches, and those would be from the first page of your painted swatches. The mediums are here, and obviously you would have more of each of these, but I've arranged them by lights, mediums, and darks. And so what you want to do, once you have all of yours laid out, and don't do this until you have all of your swatches laid out, is what you're going to do is select, you're going to pull out the white and pull out the black, because those are, those first and last swatches are the anchors of your final 12-step grayscale swatches. Those are the anchors, the top and the bottom, and everything else is the difficult part where you are making the decisions about how to actually, place them, and where there are gaps and where there are jumps and where the grays might be too close together. So what I want you to do is number them all, because you're going to be involved in a lot of editing of these swatches and, making decisions about what you think are the right ones. You're going to run them by me, and I will take a look at, you're going to photograph the arrangement of the swatches underneath your little Bristol window, and I will tell you, it's like, okay, you need to move this here, or this here, or this needs to be lighter, or this needs to be darker, and stuff like that. So basically what you want to do is, again, start with the white, start with the black. So I just pull those out. It's like I'm just going to put the black over here and pull the white over here. The white is going to always be swatch number 1. And the reason I would ask you to number all the swatches is it will make it easier for you to do the editing. When I say I want something lighter or darker, if you're looking at the swatch and it already has a number on it, like it's number 25, and I say that swatch needs to be lighter, then you would pick number 23 or number 24. If it were something I needed to, or I tell you it needs to be darker, then it's going to be 25, 26. I think you get the point. It just speeds up the process, so you're not just randomly searching your pile of swatches for the ones you think will fit. You're using the numbers to help guide you to that final 12-step swatch that you're going to be swatch grayscale that you're going to be turning in. So the numbering is really important. Now, obviously, how do you number them? Well, you don't want to do it obviously on the swatch where the paint is, right? But that's why I had you cut them this way. And that's why I have there's a border all the way around, 3 of the 4 sides of the square that will eventually be the only part of the swatch that you see. So anywhere on here, in a pen, pencil, I don't care, just as long as I don't see it, and you want to put it on the paint side, not the reverse, so you can see what you're using. So I would just put, number 1. There you go. That's swatch number 1. Now, you don't know what, all you know is that the black swatch is going to be the end. So the number is irrelevant. It will always be the last one. So I would just literally mark it like, black, or if you want to be very precise and very, ink oriented and 4-color process printing oriented, you can call it K, as in CMYK, where K is black. But set aside your white swatch, that's number 1. Set aside your black swatch, that's the last one. It's all the ones in between that you need to make the decisions on. Now, the hardest part of this whole thing is selecting what the first gray is. And I can tell you that even your instructor, if left to my own devices, I'm always going to pick, or my tendency will be always to pick a gray that's too light. there needs to be a decent jump from white to the first gray so that you get a really evenly balanced and staggered and separated grayscale, so that all the steps from 1 through 12 are equal. There's no jumps. There aren't any areas where the swatches are too close in value to one another. You want to make sure that it's a real even step all the way down. So the first gray is I literally carry these around with me in my wallet. And I know that we're not in person and I can't like look at your swatches and literally compare them, but I will do the best that I can. So there is a first swatch, which is basically, you know, this swatch here, and this is what it looks like. It's like it's like my guide. I usually have 4 or 5 of these in my wallet, like all the time, nerdy art teacher. And I will compare this as best I can to your really light grays here and decide which one looks closest. So I have the, privilege of being able to, do it with a real life swatch. But I'm going to, take this thing, take my glasses off first, and compare it to these swatches and see where they're like too light or too dark. Okay. These look pretty good. I think that this probably is the first gray, this one. Now, when I decide, and I will tell you, which swatch is your first swatch. That is number 2. Okay, it's not literally the first swatch. As you know, the first